The last Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, adored his 4 children with his third wife Farah, but he also had a daughter from his first marriage to the Egyptian princess Fawzia Fuad. The Shah's oldest daughter, Princess Shahnaz, grew up in the palace with her father, but her life was not happy. Why was she the unloved child in this family? What difficulties did she have to endure in her adult life? And where is she now? Keep watching the WOW channel. The time when Iran had a monarchy was particular. Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi ruled the country for 38 years until the Islamic Revolution occurred in 1979, and he was forced to flee with his family, his wife Queen Farah, and 4 children. However, there were other women in the life of the Shah. Before he met his wife Farah, he was married twice. The Shah first married at the age of 20 to the Egyptian princess Fawzia Fuad. It was a union of convenience. The bride and groom saw each other only once before the wedding. Their parents wanted to strengthen the political relations between the two countries, Egypt and Iran. At first glance, the prince and princess were perfect for each other. Princess Fawzia was a fantastic brunette with blue eyes. She was called one of the most beautiful women of her time and was often compared to Hollywood actresses Hedy Lamarr and Vivian Leigh. Prince Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was also handsome in his youth, and his country had more prospects in the international arena. Their wedding took place in 1939. A year later, their daughter, Princess Shahnaz, was born. However, the life of this family was unhappy. Queen Fawzia did not like living in Iran, as she considered this country less developed than her native Egypt. She also did not have a good relationship with her husband's relatives. The Shah's mother often caused scandals because she was jealous of her beloved son. Moreover, the Shah cheated on his wife and was often seen with other women. Both suffered in this union. In his 1961 book, Mission from My Country, Mohammad Reza wrote, "The only happy light moment of his entire wedding to Fawzia was the birth of his daughter." The welcoming of Princess Shahnaz was also a controversial moment in the life of the Iranian royal court. After all, the family expected the Egyptian princess to give birth to a male heir to the throne to her husband. Therefore, everyone in the country was disappointed when a girl was born. Because of these celebratory events in honor of the birth of the Shah's first child were even cancelled in Iran. In 1945, when Princess Shahnaz was only 5 years old, her mother decided to go home to Egypt due to severe depression. However, she was not allowed to take her daughter with her. The little girl had to stay in Iran and grow up without a mother. One can imagine that this was not easy for the princess. The Shah tried to convince his wife to return for the sake of her daughter, who remained in Iran. It was a manipulation. However, the queen categorically refused, despite her love for the child, since life in Iran was so unbearable for her. The little princess grew up in a palace and received the best education, but she did not have the most crucial thing, maternal love, and no one in the Iranian court could replace the mother. Her father was keen on finding a new wife, and her grandmother and aunts did not particularly like her due to the strained relationship with Queen Fawzia. Princess Shahnaz seemed so lonely and unnecessary in this family that they sent her to study in Switzerland, far from Iran. That's where she spent most of her time. Only sometimes did she see her mother there, and she came to Iran on vacation. When the princess was 11 years old, her father remarried. His new young wife was Princess Soraya. The relationship between stepmother and stepdaughter was complicated. Princess Soraya, who could not give birth to her children, tried to make friends with the girl, but of course she could never replace her mother. In addition, a few years later, the Shah divorced his second wife because of her infertility. In 1959, the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, married for the third time to a young student, Farah, who was only 2 years older than his daughter. Princess Shahnaz was already 19 years old and lived an independent life at that time. What kind of relationship does she have with her father's new family? It's hard to say because the princess then had created her own family and rarely appeared in her father's palace. It is known that Shahnaz's father initially wanted to marry her to King Faisal of Iraq to strengthen diplomatic relations. Still, the wedding did not take place due to the princess's categorical refusal. As a result, at age 17, Shahnaz Pahlavi married 25-year-old Iranian agricultural engineer Ardeshir Zahedi, who later became an influential politician in Iran, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Iranian ambassador to the United States and the United Kingdom. Their wedding was relatively modest. The Shah had ordered it to be a simple ceremony because it is no pride to be king of a poor, hungry people. However, the real reason may have been that the Shah never really loved his daughter, kept her at a distance, and separated her from her mother to manipulate his ex-wife. Princess Shahnaz lived abroad for many years and never played a prominent role in the Iranian royal palace. In her first marriage, Princess Shahnaz gave birth to a daughter, but a few years later she filed for divorce because, according to rumors, she could not put up with her husband's infidelities. A few years after the divorce, the princess married the son of the Iranian general, Khosrow Jahanbani. They became close friends in Switzerland, where the former studied arts, and married at the Iranian embassy in Paris. The Shah of Iran was against this marriage but could not prevent it. The Shah believed this man was a bad influence on his daughter, but in the end he accepted her choice because the couple would always live only in Switzerland and never return to Iran. Princess Shahnaz Pahlavi continued to live in Europe and even received Swiss citizenship. Even though she went against her father's will, she never regretted her decision because her second marriage was happy and long. The couple raised 2 children, a son and a daughter, and lived together for many years until the death of Khosrow Jahanbani in 2014. Princess Shahnaz Pahlavi remained to live in Switzerland forever because after the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979, her way home was permanently closed. Only in 2013, when the princess was 73 years old, she received Egyptian citizenship. This meant a lot to her since Egypt was her mother's and her ancestors' homeland. Today, Princess Shahnaz is 83 years old. She still lives in Switzerland, but unlike her relatives, she does not go out into the world and leads a closed life. After the death of the Shah of Iran, all his children divided his inheritance among themselves. Princess Shahnaz also received her share, but an order of magnitude less than her half-brothers and sisters, which upset her. She received only 8% of the inheritance, while the other 2 daughters from the third marriage received 15% each, and the sons 20% each. She even tried to challenge this case in court. Perhaps she took such a step not because she was greedy, but because she simply wanted to restore justice. Imagine, all her life the princess felt like an unloved child in the family. Her mother abandoned her, and her father used her to manipulate his ex-wife. The Shah did not want to communicate with his daughter and sent her abroad. The father also wanted to marry his daughter for political ambitions and was against it when she decided to marry for love. The family has indeed mistreated Princess Shahnaz many times. At the end of his life, the Shah left his older daughter a smaller inheritance than other children. It is not surprising that the princess always felt deprived of love and attention, so she wanted to compensate for this with at least a sufficient share of the inheritance. She deserved the same part of the inheritance as other children. And what do you think? Should a father divide his inheritance equally among his children? Thanks for watching. Remember to share your thoughts with me. Click like and subscribe. See you next time.